over to Ukraine for a second, y'all. I don't know if y'all catch this, but it was a video that was going viral on social media. Y'all got to get on X. Y'all have to get on X. If you're not on X, then you're missing out. If you're not on X, then you're missing out. X, formerly known as Twitter. You can follow me on X. I drop a lot of content on there myself. I'm very active on X. X got the unedited version. Like they got the webcam version that shows all of the drones, the swarm of drones that was blowing up and hitting all of these airplanes. They destroyed a whole Russian, I heard they said 1/3 of a Russian fleet with this drone attack. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into it.
The latest video this morning, a burning Russian truck apparently used in a string of audacious Ukrainian drone strikes. These new satellite images show a Russian airbase before and after the covert attacks Ukraine has dubbed Operation Spiderweb. Detailed analysis of videos from Ukraine's special forces show a drone closing in on one of President Putin's prized long-range bombers. Minutes later, locals posted images of smoke rising from the base, with drones heard overhead and explosions.
That sounds crazy.
Here, a drone is seen taking off from another truck. That attack at Belaya Air Base in Siberia, while simultaneously, thousands of miles away, Olenia Air Base was also struck. From there, this Ukrainian Special Forces drone clearly shows Russian aircraft on fire. Another plane explodes in a ball of flames on camera, and car tires, apparently cheap Russian drone defenses, bounce off. Then the video shows a row of 3 burning Russian Tu-95 aircraft. The Tu-95 is one of Russia's valuable cruise missile-carrying, nuclear-capable aircraft, able to fly as far as the continental United States. Russia has 60 of them in operation, but they are no longer in production, so it would take years and billions of dollars to replace them. Ukraine says it smuggled more than 100 small drones into Russia for the precision strikes that took 18 months of planning.
Russia must feel what its losses mean. That is what will push it toward diplomacy.
But this morning, a list of Russian demands published by the state news agency TASS suggests the Kremlin is in no mood to compromise. They include Russia acquiring more Ukrainian territory, Ukraine disarming, and a comprehensive removal of all sanctions. Those Russian demands, Savannah, emerged from those talks yesterday that ended without a ceasefire, and overnight more strikes on both sides left a number of Ukrainians dead. One Western official with knowledge of the negotiations with this chilling quote, Savannah, telling NBC News the Russians will try to kill their way to victory. Savannah?
Kirsten.
I don't understand it, honestly. I don't understand it from both sides. It almost seems like a sense of pride and that they're doing this or they're continuing this war because, and this is on both sides, that they're continuing this war because neither one of them want to be considered a weak leader or their legacy is going to be. That's the one thing about men is that men will sacrifice everything for their reputation, for their legacy, and they'll sacrifice a million men, millions of men, because they don't want to be looked at as weak or they don't want to have some form of diplomacy. And in the meantime, you got drone strikes, people dying on both sides. I thought it was pretty impressive, if you just want to be honest with you. This has been happening for almost 3.5 years. Almost 3.5 years this war has been happening, and it was a really big deal when it first popped off. Check this out. I guess that CNN has more insight into how they were able to pull this off over 18 months of planning.
Russian and Ukrainian officials met for a second round of peace talks in Istanbul on Monday, but the discussions ended nearly as soon as they began and without any major breakthroughs. Now, both sides did agree to work on a new prisoner exchange. However, on the matter of a ceasefire, statements from both delegations indicate that neither side budged on their positions. Moscow, for its part, maintained its maximalist terms, which includes Ukraine's surrender of 4 mainland regions that Russia attempted to illegally annex soon after the invasion in 2022. That's according to details of the peace memorandum reported by Russian state media. The direct peace talks came just one day after Ukraine's daring drone strike operation targeting airfields deep inside Russia. The Ukrainian president praised the brilliant operation, saying that the strikes were launched out of necessity.
Ми не хочемо демонструвати свою силу.
We don't want to demonstrate our strength. We are demonstrating it because the enemy doesn't want to stop. We demonstrate it in a fair way on military targets. And we don't only demonstrate it to the Russian aggressors, but also to all those allies that once were strong allies and have now started doubting us. The trust towards Ukrainians and faith in Ukraine has returned.
Nick Payton-Walsh breaks down how Ukraine carried out the operation.
A bird's-eye view of humiliation. Ukrainian drones halfway across Russian Siberia, seconds from hitting the Kremlin's most prized bombers. But the data was bad for Moscow. 117 drones hitting 41 long-range bombers across Russia, a Ukrainian security source said. A torn-up skyline here in Belaya. Exactly what Moscow dreaded and Ukraine needed, a boost to its flagging morale. Damaging Russia's war machine for sure, but maybe also its calculus in peace talks.
Our operation Spiderweb yesterday proved that Russia must feel what its losses mean. That is what will push it toward diplomacy.
Ukraine hit Irkutsk, 4,500 kilometers away from Ukraine, where Google Earth still shows similar propeller-driven aircraft in the open. But they also struck Alenia, right on the Arctic Circle. Similar planes also on Google. Another example of something that just was not meant to happen in Russia's brutal war of choice.
Yo, we have some crazy technology that you can literally use Google Earth to show what it used to look like in real time.
The how was as extraordinary. Ukraine's security service head, Vasyl Malyuk, commenting here.
Оце так файно виглядає зараз аеродром Білая.
And releasing these images of the wooden mobile homes they used the roof cavities of to hide the drones. Before their release, once Ukraine said all their operatives were out of Russia. The planes hit mainly the Tupolev 95 and Tupolev 22, the Ukrainian source said, aging, easy to damage, hard to replace. They were partly behind the nightly terrors that beset Ukrainian civilians. Whether these strikes make a dent in this daily toll will take weeks to learn. But it may also damage the Kremlin quicker, away from the front lines. Its pride hit hard. Although state TV put on a fierce display of why Russia has been pummeling Ukraine so relentlessly. It may also, too, change its thinking, perhaps towards peace talks that continued Monday in Istanbul, and of how long Russia can sustain this war if Ukraine keeps throwing painful surprises its way.
I've never in my life, like when I was growing up, I thought that war was ugly in a different type of way. You know, I grew up and I remember watching Saving Private Ryan and Full Metal Jacket and all of those things. I never imagined that we would be sitting here talking about drone wars. That the goal is to get the trucks as far into Ukraine or as far into Russia as possible so that they can ultimately launch a swarm of drones that could destroy the entire their fleet, 1/3 of their fleet over on their air bases and their spaces and stuff like that. I never anticipated ever seeing this in my life. I thought that you know what I'm saying, war was a little bit different. My favorite war movie is Saving Private Ryan. There's a lot of people in there. There's been Diesel in there. There's a lot of people in there in Saving Private Ryan. Matt Damon did a really good job. Obviously, Tom Hanks was in it. And so that I might have to go and rewatch that this weekend.
Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, London.
Here now is military analyst, retired Colonel Cedric Layton. Cedric, just your reaction when you heard, I mean, this is estimates of some $7 billion in unrecoverable damage to these Tupolev bombers that predate Russian independence. I mean, this was really the Soviet aircraft that were targeted. Ukraine says as many as 40. That number may be in question, but Russia didn't have more than 100. And the significance here is that these were capable of carrying out long-range ballistic missile attacks into Ukraine. How big of a setback is this for Russia?
Well, This could be a huge setback for Russia, Biana, and one of the key things about this is that the mechanisms that we'll call them mechanisms for a second.
Fury was good also.
That the Ukrainians hit the Tupolev 95 and 22 aircraft. They are not only the aircraft
somebody
that
said
used
Tropic
to attack
Thunder.
Ukraine using cruise missiles, but they're also part of the nuclear deterrent that the Soviet Union and then Russia created, not only for the Cold War, but in the post-Cold War period. And that's a significant thing because...
Yeah, I think you're right, Yakar. You said, I think the U.S. helped. We just kept our name off of it. I think so, too. I think that now we don't want to be attached with continuing to fund or give any kind of military resources. But at the same time, I believe that the strategy from the United States of America is to ultimately push Russia into actually negotiating peace talks, because one of the biggest things that Trump said that he wanted to do, and one of the things that he said that it was important to him, was for him to solve the problem of being involved in this war, or the United States of America continuing to fund this war. I think it messes up the budget. I think that allocating so much in military resources going to this, considering that he wasn't able to solve for the war, actually incentivize the United States of America to continue to push Ukraine to go and do these attacks, which they can't put their name on it because it will probably cause issues, and I'm sure Russia knows, but it will probably cause issues with the negotiations and the ceasefire deal that they want up. So I do believe that the United States of America, I believe the U.S., I believe NATO, I believe that the EU, I believe that all of these places are involved in continuing to push and fund Ukraine in this war against Russia. But now the goal is to hit them and to beat them so hard that it actually weakens their position at the negotiation table to stop this war. Somebody said this won't push Russia to peace. This was Ukrainian desperation. I don't think that you can call it Ukrainian desperation if it was... People that move or things that are done out of desperation are not this well planned. Things that are done out of desperation is not this well planned. I don't think so. Thin Red Line, what is y'all favorite war movie? Or do y'all like war movies at all? Mine is definitely Saving Private Ryan. I think that that's the greatest war movie of all time. Some people say Black Hawk Down. I also like Full Metal Jacket because I'm from that era. There is some other movies that was attached to war that was really good that a lot of people are overlooking. Dead Presidents. I think the Dead Presidents was pretty good. They had a lot of good war scenes inside of Forrest Gump. 300, American Sniper. American Sniper was cool. Enemy of the State, Black Hawk Down, Unbroken, Fury. I've watched almost all of these. Glory, you like Glory? Where they had to advocate for getting the soldiers better shoes. I want better shoes for my man, soldier. Red Dawn, Boys in the Hood. Behind Enemy Lines was really good. Hamburger Hill. Oh, I remember Hamburger Hill. Pearl Harbor, Tears of the Sun. Tears of the Sun was with Bruce Willis, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Tears of the Sun was with Bruce Willis.